In October 2009, Yishai told Israel Channel 2 that asylum seekers and other foreigners from the so-called Third World must not be allowed to enter Israel because if they are permitted to, they will infect Israelis with a whole host of diseases, both physical and societal.
אם יבוא לפה עכשיו מאות אלפי עובדים זרים, עם מחלות צוות, חצבת, שחפת, עץ, סמים, נתונים קשים שאנחנו לא יודעים אותם. האם מישהו, אחד אבל, מאזרחי מדינת ישראל, אחד, היו מוכנים שיכנסו בקצב הזה, באדישות של ממשלות ישראל, עכשיו סוף סוף אני מקווה שיהיה גדר. האם מישהו מאזרחי מדינת ישראל היה מוכן שיכנסו פה מיליון או שתיים וחצי סודנים ואריתראים ועוד לפה? האם מישהו מאזרחי מדינת ישראל היה מוכן עם כל ההתייפיפות הזאת לראות פה במדינת ישראל מיליון או מיליון וחצי זרים?
It is worth noting that these types of statements are not exceptions to the rule, but the rule itself for members of Yishai's Shas party. In October 2010, the group's spiritual leader, Ovadia Yosef, compared all non-Jewish people to donkeys who serve their masters, stating that, quote, the sole purpose of non-Jews is to serve Jews. In July 2010, residents of South Tel Aviv convinced over 24 Tel Aviv rabbis to draft a letter explicitly calling upon Israelis not to rent apartments to asylum seekers and foreign workers. The phenomenon quickly spread to other cities across the country. In December 2010, hundreds of Israel's leading rabbis, including dozens of chief rabbis of municipalities throughout the country who are paid from the public purse, issued a religious edict instructing Jewish people to not sell homes or even rent apartments to non-Jewish people, including asylum seekers. In the letter, the signatories explained their rationale for forbidding property sales and rentals to non-Jewish people. To justify their decision, the rabbis quote biblical passages from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verses 2 and 4. An examination of this biblical passage, which these rabbis believe is the living word of their God, reveals the context upon which they base their religious ruling. When your God Yahweh brings you to the land that you are going to inherit, he will banish other nations, and your God Yahweh will deliver them to you, and you will strike them down. Utterly destroy them, and do not sign any pacts with them, show them no mercy, and do not intermarry with them. Do not give your daughters to their sons, and do not take their daughters for your sons, but instead do this to them: shatter their altars, and break their monuments, and chop down their goddess figures, and burn their idols, because you are a holy people to your God Yahweh. He chose you to be his special people from all the nations in the world. The letter goes on to cite another passage from the Bible to bolster its argument that Jewish people must not sell or rent to non-Jewish people. The rabbis reference the book of Numbers, chapter 33, verse 55, which is very similar in content to the first biblical reference. And Yahweh said to Moses on the plains of Moab by the Jordan at Jericho, tell the people of Israel, when you cross the Jordan into the land of Canaan, drive out all the inhabitants of the land, and destroy all their statues, and destroy all their images, and demolish all their altars. Drive out the inhabitants of the land, and settle there, because I have given the land to you to possess. But if you do not drive out the inhabitants of the land, then those that you permit to remain will be like thorns in your eyes, and like pricks in your sides, and they will make you miserable in the land in which you live. Again, the rabbis make reference to an explicit call to ethnically cleanse the country as if it is still in effect, and warn their constituents that to rent an apartment to a non-Jewish person is an act of hostility to their Jewish neighbors, because the Bible proclaims that any non-Jewish person present in the land will make you miserable. The rabbis sum up their letter by calling upon their followers to socially and economically boycott any person who, despite their urgent warnings, continues to rent property to non-Jewish people. Those who signed were not only chief rabbis of religious communities and West Bank settlements. The list of signatories includes the chief rabbis of many cities whose populations are overwhelmingly secular in orientation. Afula, Ashdod, Bat Yam, Carmiel, Eilat, Herzliya, Gadera, Cholon, Kiryat Gat, Kiryat Motzkin, Metula, Nahariya, Natzeret, Pardes Chana, Ra'anana, Rishon LeZion, Rosh Ha'ain,